Hi, this is Julie Harland, and I'm your Math Gal. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where you could search for any of my videos organized by topic. This is part 3 of absolute value inequalities, and we solve these two inequalities on this video. All right, we're going to solve this absolute value inequality. Absolute value of 2x minus 3 plus 2 is less than or equal to 5. All right, so remember, if we isolate the absolute value sign, then we have a way of rewriting the inequality without absolute value. So that's the first thing I want to do here. This plus 2 is not inside the absolute value, so I am going to subtract 2 from both sides so that I could isolate the absolute value. So that gives me the absolute value of 2x minus 3 is less than or equal to 3. Now we have the absolute value of something less than some positive number, right? Less than or equal, in this case, to some positive number. So remember what we do. We can take the part underneath the absolute value sign, 2x minus 3, and we know that can go between -3 and 3. Remember, this is because absolute value has to do with distance, and we want some distance to 0 to be less than 3 spaces away. Okay, so now we need to solve this. So we can add 3 to both sides to begin. So I have 0 is less than or equal to 2x is less than or equal to 6. And lastly, we want to divide everything by 2 so we can solve for x. So remember, 0 over 2 is 0. So our answer is that x is in between 0 and 3. So how would we write that in interval notation? It's in between 0 and 3. If we were going to graph the solution, so let's say this is 0, 1, 2, and 3, it would be in between 0 and 3. Now what we could do is do a little check, like let's pick a number in between 0 and 3, like 1 or 2, right? Those are easy numbers to check, and plug it in this original inequality and see if it's a solution. Now the original, remember, had the absolute value of 2x minus 3 plus 2 is less than or equal to 5. So I'm going to just make this a little bit smaller so we have some room to do the check right here on the side. In fact, I'm going to take away the word solve just to give ourselves even a little bit more space. And let's see, so how about if we just check? How about putting in 2 for x and see if it works? So here's our original problem. 2x minus 3 is in the absolute value, plus 2 is less than or equal to 5, and we're just going to plug in 2 for x. And the question, is this going to be a true statement? So inside the absolute value sign, we've got 4 minus 3, right? Because we have to do 2 times 2. 4 minus 3 is 1. And then what's the absolute value of 1? Well, that's 1. So I've got the 1 plus 2, which is 3, is less than or equal to 5. Is that true? Is 3 either less than 5 or equal to 5? Yes, because it's less than 5. So we know that 2 is a solution. So it looks like at least a number between 0 and 3 is correct. The only way to tell if these are the right endpoints is by plugging in 0. And when you plug in 0, you should get that both sides are actually equal to each other. And when you plug in 3, the other endpoint, you should get that both sides end up being equal to each other. So it looks like this is our correct solution in interval notation, 0, 3. Here's a problem for you to solve. So try this on your own, and you will have some fractions involved in your answer. That's okay. And just write your answer in interval notation. All right, so let's see. How would we solve this? We don't have the absolute value sign isolated, so how about we add 2 to both sides? So if we do that, I've got on the left side just absolute value of 3x plus 1, and on the right side I've got 5. All right, so now the part underneath inside the absolute value sign is 3x plus 1. When you have less than or equal, remember it goes in between the negative and positive of this number on the right when it's positive. So that's in between negative 5 and positive 5. So now we just solved this compound inequality. Let's subtract 1 from both sides to get started so that we could isolate the 3x. So that gives us negative 6 is less than or equal to 3x is less than or equal to 4. And then we want to divide everything by 3 to solve for x. So we get negative 2 is less than or equal to x is less than 4/3, which is 1 1/3. You could write 4/3 or 1 1/3. So this looks like it's our solution. So in interval notation, oops, I forgot the less than or equal. In interval notation, that's in between negative 2 and 4/3 or 1 1/3. Remember, we use the brackets when you've got the equal sign. Use parentheses if it's just strictly less than or strictly greater than. All right, now you can check some number in between negative 2 and 1 1/3, like 0, right? That might be an easy one to check. So let's just check to make sure x equals 0 really is a solution. Now remember, when I do these checks, this doesn't mean I've got the correct answer because I can't check every single number. I'm just checking if one number in between there makes the original inequality true. So I'm just going to work on the left-hand side here. I have 3 times 0 is what I'm plugging in for x. And then inside the absolute value, 3 times 0 is 0. So I have 0 plus 1, okay, which is 1. And now I've got the absolute value of 1, which is 1, right? So I end up with 1 minus 2. And then 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So the question is, when I plug in 0, well, I get a number on the left side that's less than or equal to 3. That's basically what I'm checking out here. And yes, that is absolutely true. So at every single point, in the end, I'm asking myself, less than or equal to 3? Yes, that is true. So it looks like at least I've got the right range. And again, the only way to know whether your endpoints, negative 2 or 1 1/3, are correct is to actually plug in negative 2 for x, right? And also plug in 1 1/3 for x. So just because a lot of people have trouble with fractions, I'm going to go ahead and plug in the 1 1/3. We'll try that. So let's go ahead and plug in 4/3 for x. So here's our original. We have 3 times 4/3 plus 1 minus 2, and we're going to see if that's going to be less than or equal to 3. So we have to simplify inside the absolute value. 3's cancel, so I just get 4 plus 1 inside the absolute value. And 4 plus 1 is 5, so I just get 5 in the absolute value. And now what is the absolute value of 5? That'll be 5. So I have 5 minus 2, and that's 3. And the question is this: is that less than or equal to 3? Yes, because 3 is equal to 3. Remember, when I write 3 is less than or equal to 3, I'm saying, is this number on the left either less than the number on the right, or is it equal to the number on the right? And as long as one of those things is true, it works. So 4/3 or 1 1/3 was a solution. All right, so we've just done a few more problems with this less than or equal, and if you go on to the next video, we're going to do the tricky problems. Tricky problems with less than or equal inequalities with the absolute value, and then after that we will go on to the greater than or equal problems, or greater than with the absolute value. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com where you can view all of my videos which are organized by topic.